Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Wavy and this is just Wavy Media. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again on Travel Tuesday. This new segment that I've been doing on my channel since Ireland has been unlocking a little bit after COVID, and so I can show you some of Ireland. This video, as you will see in the title, is kind of the religious history and current scene of Cork. I trained as a history teacher and a religion teacher, so those are two areas that very much interest me, and I am standing at Cork's oldest still standing site right now. This tower is called the Red Abbey Tower. It was built sometime around 1270 to 1280, that kind of time, was when the Anglo-Norman people took over parts of Ireland. They invited the Augustinians to come and build a friary here, which was known as the Red Abbey because it was made of red brick. This bit's not, but you can see up there, there is where the nuns live, a convent, and that's red brick. But this bit was not. So they built this church tower, which is still here, in the 1270s or 1280s, and it is the oldest part of Cork. And one of the very funny things about it is it's literally now just like in a housing estate. It's like a little park area in a housing estate, which is pretty crazy. You can't go into it or up it or anything. It's just a ruin there for you to see, a little kind of hidden gem in the city, if you will, unless you know where it is. It has a really cool like church window mural there as well on the ground, which I really like, and there's like the information about it is over here if you want to read it, if you ever get here. But this is part of medieval Cork, 1270, 1280. We're going to go a bit more modern after this and up to kind of the current day and what's going on. So I don't know if you can see up behind me this red brick church like structure. It's just down from the Red Abbey Tower. This is Nanonagle Place. You can possibly make it out written there depending on how big a screen you're watching this on. But Nanonagle was the pioneer of Catholic education in Ireland for girls, I'm pretty sure, and the Presentation Sisters come from her, and this was, I'm not sure if it still is, but that's their convent there. If you don't know, I think I've said it in other segments, but Catholics in Ireland at a certain time, because of Protestantism in the UK and this being controlled by the UK, was suppressed, so they weren't allowed to even teach. She used to teach in a mud hut, and that's where she started her teaching career, to educate the young poor Catholics of Cork. And the bridge just like behind the camera down this way is named after her now. So Cork is known as a city of steeples, and I just found this piece of kind of art behind me here where it has, look, it points out St. Finbarr's Cathedral, the Red Abbey, Custom House, St. Peter's Church, Sunday's Well, and then St. Anne's of Shandon. So a lot of churches pointed out in this that you can see. So we're going to look at some of those churches and then some modern, newer churches as well from the outside, obviously. You might be able to see that sign there behind me. It says French Church Street. So the street that runs that way, like not this street, this is Patrick Street, but this way is French Church Street. And it is so named because the Huguenots from France, which were a Protestant movement, I'll show you their burial ground in a minute, had built their church on this street. And so very creatively, Cork people called it French Church Street. It was later the Methodist Hall before the Methodists moved out towards Douglas, which is a suburb of Cork. So yeah, it has some religious significance for two reasons: Huguenots in Cork, and then it was also a Methodist Hall. And we saw Don Square a while ago too, where John Wesley tried to preach. So that's French Church Street. So this behind me is the Huguenot burial ground. So Huguenots, if you don't know, was a Protestant religious movement that came about in around the 1600s, and they were persecuted in France. So they came here, and a lot of them lived here, and this was their church building, and that's their burial ground. So this is French Church Street. On this end, doesn't really have anything. The side of an Ulster Bank, the side of Superdry. But then down there are so many nice restaurants. And the church would have been on this side. So I'm here on North Main Street, which today isn't the busiest street in Cork or the most happening street in Cork, but in the medieval times this was the main street through medieval Cork, and probably Cork older than medieval Cork, so it still has the name Main Street. And behind me you can see St. Peter's Church. Now St. Peter's Church would be a Church of Ireland church or an Anglican church, but now it's used as an event centre. It's not used as a church anymore. But this is, so we're on the old island, the medieval island of Cork, and in the 1600s, the late 1600s, the UK, who controlled Ireland at the time, introduced the penal laws, which stopped people, Catholic people, from holding important positions or going on to further education or being able to be elected officials, that kind of thing. But it also, what it did here in Cork was stopped the building, or didn't allow for Catholic churches to be on the main island. And so the main island of Cork is this one. So then this church is on that main island. So it was a Church of Ireland or an Anglican church until it became an event centre. So we've already seen St. Peter's on North Main Street, which is just up there. But this is South Main Street. And here we have what's called Christ Church, which again, because of the penal laws, was a Anglican or Church of Ireland, Church of England church, which is now again no longer being used as a church. This is a cinema now, and there's a coffee shop. I think there's a record store in there as well. It's an events centre, a small events centre inside in the old church now. But it was, because of the penal laws, a Anglican church, because it is on the island. It's on South Main Street, the older part of Cork City, and no Catholic churches were allowed to be here in history, but there are some now. This is St. Finbarr's Cathedral. It is on the south side of the city, and this is the Church of Ireland Cathedral here in Cork. Now this church itself is not the oldest building that we have seen on this tour. That would be Red Abbey, which was 1200s. This building was built maybe around 1800s. Yeah, it was 1800s. But this site that it sits on is the oldest religious site in Cork. Back when St. Patrick came to Ireland, he went around the country and he started what we obviously now call Celtic Christianity and the monastery tradition. And it was this site where about less than 100 years later, a guy called St. Finbarr, who the cathedral is named after, set up his monastery, and he taught the people of Cork, the Celtic people of Cork, about Jesus. And so this site has been a significant site for Christianity in Cork for a long time. UCC, which is the college that I went to, actually uses the phrase "where Finbarr taught, let Munster learn," and UCC is not very far away from where I'm currently standing. It's just up the road this way, behind the camera kind of. And so here is one of the oldest Christian sites in Cork, with a more modern cathedral built on it that was built in the 1800s. If you get a chance to go in and have a look around it, the stained glass is beautiful. There's a cannonball in there that got shot at it from a nearby fort. Before it was this building, actually, it was shot at the previous church that was on this site. There's a lot of decoration here around the doors, as you can see. Big windows, the bell towers. It's worth visiting. It's one of my favorite buildings in the world after La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. This one is pretty nice too, that I've seen. I haven't seen loads of churches, but this is one of the nicest ones I've seen. So where I am now is where Patrick Street and Grand Parade meet Cornmarket Street, which is this way. This is called Daunt Square, and this is of significance religiously speaking, because in 1750 John Wesley of the Methodist movement attempted to preach here but was opposed. I'm going to put in a picture of what it says there on the plaque or the sign to remember that event. I'll put that in here. But he was opposed and he didn't get to speak, but he tried. So this is Marlborough Street in the centre of Cork City, and Cork has two claims to fame in terms of famous Christian people coming here. We've already seen where one of the Wesleys of Methodism preached, but here, this building, the YMCA building, the foundation stone was actually laid by D.L. Moody when this was built. It is quite a big building. It says Young Men's Christian Association up on the very top, and this is the current home of the offices of Calvary Cork, which you are going to see in the next clip because I was there today. This is Deer Park CBS, which is a secondary school in Cork, but it is also the current home of the Cork Chinese Christian Church and of Calvary Cork, where I'm going this morning.
Really being punctual with our starts.
This church behind me is Cork's Presbyterian church called Trinity Presbyterian. If you see the spire here, to me, and this is a feature in some Cork churches, it looks a bit like a wizard's or a witch's hat, but white. It's quite interesting. This actually was like bending not too long ago, so they had to do a whole load of work to straighten it out. I say not too long ago, it was probably like about 5 years ago, but they had to straighten it out just in case it toppled over. So, Trinity Presbyterian Church. You could call this part of Cork the church quarter, because just up the road from Trinity, which is down there, we've got Grace Church, which is a non-denominational charismatic church. So they're in this old building. There's a Marriott hotel next door to them, and there's also another church further up this road. So we're now just a little bit further up the road from where Grace was, which is this way, past these. But here is Cork Baptist Church. Cork Baptist Church, but not in this location, was actually founded by one of the people who came over with Oliver Cromwell, who is a famous figure in the UK for good reasons, but for very bad reasons in Ireland, because he basically tried to wipe us out and committed a lot of genocidal acts, murdered a whole lot of people. But yeah, one of his followers started this church. So I guess good things come from bad beginnings sometimes. So continuing on our religious tour of Cork, here in the former Connolly Hall, near the bus station and not too far away from Curtin Street where those other churches were, is Cork Church. A bit full of itself, calling itself Cork Church, but it is a Pentecostal church here in Cork. Behind me in the fog, you can see St. Anne's Church there with its clock tower. We're going to go look at that a bit closer, but I wanted to show you it from the end of McCurtain Street as well, because it's a nice view. I'm standing on Cornmarket Street now, and just behind me you can see the Firkin Crane, which is that roundy building there, and then St. Anne's or the Shannon Bells, or the Four-Faced Liar, which is this tower here. So I used to actually just live across this bridge here when I lived in Cork City. So this was my walk home quite often. So I was totally wrong calling it the Church of the Holy Spirit. It's Holy Trinity Church, so it's Father, Son and Spirit. You can see it up there. So this is actually a Roman Catholic church, and it is on the island. You'll remember me saying a few minutes ago that for a long time there wasn't allowed to be Catholic churches on the island because of the law that stopped Catholics holding positions. Also stopped them having churches on the main island of Cork, so they had to be outside it. But since then, places like this have been built on the main island because Catholicism was welcome again, which is how it should be. So this is the back of Holy Trinity Church that I showed you a second ago, and just down behind it there is this church, which I had actually forgotten about. It's a Brethren church called the Gospel Hall, and I think my brain has suppressed the memories of going here because you have to have a letter from another Brethren congregation to be welcomed here. So it was very not a nice experience trying to come to this church. Unless you have a letter from a Brethren church and are a Brethren, this is one to maybe not go to, unless you like traumatic experiences. That could be your thing. I have walked about 5 minutes from Red Abbey, and I'm here at Cove Street Christian Fellowship, which is an independent evangelical church that currently meets in this building on Cove Street. And then behind me, right across the street from it, up there is another church. And so I'm standing just in the arch now of St. Nicholas Church, which is right up there, not very far from Cove Street Christian Fellowship at all. And this is their old arch, but you can see that kind of similar witch's hat like structure that I was talking about with Trinity Presbyterian on this one as well. So did I film an outro for this video? You can bet your bottom dollar I did not. So hello, it is future editor Wavy again. Thank you for surfing with me today, and that is all I've got for you for this video. I was going to go to St. Anne's. My eyebrows are a mess. Anyway, I was going to go to St. Anne's, Shining Bells, the Four-Faced Liar. Talked about it in the video. Didn't actually get there. I also was kind of planning on going out to the Church of the Holy Spirit because it looks kind of like a mosque. It's really interesting. Didn't get there. There's an Art Deco church called maybe St. Luke's. I love Art Deco. We have an Art Deco church in Cork. Possibly the only Art Deco building in the whole country that's not like Neo Art Deco. Didn't manage to get there. There's an Islamic Cultural Centre that is near St. Anne's. Didn't manage to get there. So yeah, this video was kind of a bigger scope than I had initially thought that it would be when I was kind of planning out what kind of videos I might do. Yeah, there was more to this one than I managed to get done in a one weekend trip. So I mean, like St. Anne's of Shandon, the Shandon Bells, like that could be its own video. I need somebody musical with me to do that one though, so that I can show you, like you can play the Star Wars theme on its bells, which is pretty epic. I used to have a video of that, but I doubt I have it anymore. But yeah, that's cool. So somebody musical coming with me to that would be good, so that they could do that, and then we could show you playing like the Star Wars theme on church bells, because it sounds cool. If you want to watch the rest of the Cork travel videos, I will link them above. And there is one more in this series coming next week, and then we will be moving on. And we won't be in Cork for a little while, we will be elsewhere. So thank you so much for watching. So if you like this video, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button to keep the tide coming in, and comment down below, I don't know, whatever you feel like commenting. Go mad, and click the playlist to watch the other videos, and I will see you tomorrow for Wavy Wednesday. What are we doing tomorrow? We are doing a Magic at Your Door unboxing tomorrow. So I will see you tomorrow for Magic at Your Door unboxing. Okay, have a great day, guys. Take care.